The family that raised you wasn't trying to love you. They were trying to program you. And here's the part that's going to mess with your head. Most of them had no idea they were doing it. They thought they were protecting you, guiding you, preparing you for the world. But what they were actually doing was downloading into your nervous system the same unconscious programming that had been running their lives for generations. And the programming runs so deep, you're still following their rules even when they're not around. I need you to understand something that's going to sound harsh, but will set you free. Your family wasn't a family, it was a system. A complex, unconscious system designed to maintain itself at all costs, even if it meant sacrificing your authentic self in the process. And you, without knowing it, became a cog in that machine, playing a role that was assigned to you before you could even speak. Let me tell you about the moment I realized my entire childhood was a lie. I was 28 years old, sitting in my therapist's office, and she asked me a simple question that shattered everything I thought I knew about my family. She said, "Tell me about a time when your parents celebrated your authentic emotions." I sat there for 10 minutes in complete silence because I couldn't think of a single moment. Not one. Every emotion I had ever expressed had been met with correction, redirection, or punishment. That's when I realized I hadn't been raised by parents. I had been raised by a system that was unconsciously programming me to be its perfect product. Your family system had rules. Invisible, unspoken rules that everyone followed without question. And here's what's terrifying. You're still following those rules today, decades later, in your relationships, in your career, in the way you treat yourself. These rules are running in the background of your mind like malware, sabotaging every attempt you make to create authentic happiness. If you're ready to see the matrix you were born into, if you're ready to understand how your family system programmed you and how to break free from that programming, hit that subscribe button right now, like this video, and tell me in the comments below, what was the unspoken rule in your family that you're still following today? Because I read every single comment, and your awareness is the first step to your freedom. Let me paint you a picture of how this programming works. Every family system has what I call the family trance, a collective unconscious agreement about how reality works, what's acceptable, what's dangerous, and what roles everyone must play to keep the system stable. This trance gets passed down from generation to generation like a virus, infecting each new child with the same limiting beliefs, the same fears, the same patterns of dysfunction. Your parents didn't wake up one day and decide to traumatize you. They were operating from their own programming, their own unhealed wounds, their own unconscious patterns that they inherited from their parents. They were doing the best they could with the level of consciousness they had. But here's what you need to understand. Good intentions don't protect you from unconscious programming. Love doesn't protect you from systemic dysfunction. And the fact that they meant well doesn't change the impact their unconscious patterns had on your developing nervous system. Let me break down the invisible architecture of the narcissistic family system. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Every narcissistic family system has 5 core components that work together to maintain the dysfunction and prevent anyone from breaking free. The first component is the identified roles. In every narcissistic family, each person gets assigned a role that serves the system's need for stability. There's the golden child, who carries the family's hopes and dreams and must be perfect at all costs. There's the scapegoat, who carries the family's shame and dysfunction and gets blamed for everything that goes wrong. There's the lost child, who disappears into the background and learns that their needs don't matter. There's the mascot, who uses humor and entertainment to distract from the family's pain. And there's the enabler, who maintains the system by making excuses and keeping everyone in their assigned roles. These roles aren't chosen, they're assigned based on the family's unconscious needs and the child's natural temperament. And here's what's insidious about it. Each role comes with its own set of survival strategies that become hardwired into your nervous system. The golden child learns to be perfect and never show weakness. The scapegoat learns to fight and rebel, but also to carry shame. The lost child learns to be invisible and self-sufficient. The mascot learns to perform and entertain, but never be real. The enabler learns to sacrifice themselves for others and never have needs. The second component is the family mythology. The stories the family tells itself about who they are and how they operate. These stories are designed to maintain the illusion that the family is healthy, functional, and loving. We're a close family. We tell each other everything. Family comes first. We don't air our dirty laundry. These mythologies create a cognitive dissonance where your lived experience doesn't match the family's narrative about itself, and you learn to doubt your own perception of reality. The third component is the emotional rules, the unspoken guidelines about which emotions are acceptable and which are forbidden. In narcissistic families, certain emotions are labeled as dangerous, selfish, or inappropriate. Anger might be forbidden because it threatens the family's image of harmony. Sadness might be dismissed because it makes the parents uncomfortable. Joy might be minimized because it draws attention away from the family's drama. Fear might be ridiculed because it challenges the family's mythology of strength. The fourth component is the communication patterns, the ways the family has learned to interact that maintain the dysfunction. There's triangulation, where instead of talking directly to each other, family members communicate through a third person. There's gaslighting, where your perception of reality is constantly questioned and invalidated. There's emotional blackmail, where love and acceptance are used as weapons to control behavior. There's the silent treatment, where withdrawal of connection is used as punishment. There's projection, where family members blame you for their own emotions and behaviors. The fifth component is the family's relationship with the outside world, how they present themselves to others, and what they do to maintain their image. Narcissistic families are obsessed with appearances and will sacrifice authenticity for the sake of looking good to others. Children learn that the family's reputation is more important than their individual needs, that secrets must be kept, that loyalty means never speaking the truth about what really happens behind closed doors. Now, here's where it gets really twisted. The family system doesn't just assign you a role, it trains you to police yourself and others to maintain that role. You become an unconscious agent of the system, enforcing its rules even when no one is watching. The golden child learns to criticize themselves for any imperfection. The scapegoat learns to sabotage their own success. The lost child learns to make themselves invisible even in healthy relationships. The mascot learns to perform even when they're dying inside. The enabler learns to sacrifice themselves even when no one is asking them to. This is how the programming becomes self-perpetuating. You don't need your family around to maintain their dysfunction. You've internalized the system so completely that you carry it with you wherever you go. You become your own jailer, your own critic, your own saboteur. You recreate the family dynamics in your romantic relationships, your friendships, your workplace. You attract people who will play the complementary roles to your assigned character, and you unconsciously train them to treat you the way your family taught you to expect to be treated. Let me tell you about the moment I realized I was still playing my assigned role as the golden child, even though I was 30 years old and living in a different country. I was in a meeting at work, and my boss criticized a project I had worked on. Instead of defending my work or asking for specific feedback, I immediately went into golden child mode. I apologized profusely, took responsibility for things that weren't even my fault, and promised to do better. I left that meeting feeling small, ashamed, and desperate to prove my worth. That night, I realized I wasn't responding to my boss, I was responding to my father. I was still that little boy trying to be perfect, so I wouldn't lose love and approval. The family system programs you to believe that love is conditional, that your worth depends on your performance, that your needs are selfish, that your emotions are dangerous, that your authentic self is unacceptable. It teaches you to scan constantly for signs of disapproval, to prioritize others' comfort over your own truth, to sacrifice your dreams for the family's expectations, to carry shame that doesn't even belong to you. But here's what the family system doesn't want you to know: you are not your role. You are not the golden child, or the scapegoat, or the lost child, or the mascot, or the enabler. Those are characters you were forced to play for survival, but they are not who you are. Underneath all that programming is your authentic self, the person you were before the system got its hands on you. Your authentic self has needs, desires, emotions, and dreams that have nothing to do with maintaining the family's dysfunction. Your authentic self has a voice that wants to speak truth, boundaries that want to be honored, and a life force that wants to be expressed. Your authentic self knows the difference between love and manipulation, between support and control, between healthy connection and trauma bonding. The process of breaking free from the family system starts with seeing it clearly. You have to understand that what you experienced wasn't normal, even if it was normal for your family. You have to recognize that the roles you were assigned were not reflections of your true nature, but survival strategies you developed to navigate a dysfunctional environment. You have to acknowledge that the programming you received was not preparation for a healthy life, but training for continued dysfunction. This is where most people get stuck. They can see the dysfunction intellectually, but they can't break free from it emotionally, because the programming runs deeper than thoughts. It lives in your nervous system, in your body, in your subconscious patterns. You can understand that your family was dysfunctional and still find yourself recreating those same dynamics in your adult relationships. Breaking free requires more than awareness. It requires reprogramming. You have to consciously choose new responses, new beliefs, new patterns. You have to learn to recognize when you're operating from your assigned role and consciously choose to respond from your authentic self instead. You have to practice setting boundaries, expressing emotions, speaking truth, and honoring your needs, even when every cell in your body is screaming that it's dangerous. The family system will resist your transformation. When you start changing, when you start setting boundaries, when you start speaking truth, the system will try to pull you back into your assigned role. Family members will guilt you, manipulate you, threaten you, or give you the silent treatment. They'll tell you you're being selfish, ungrateful, or crazy. They'll try to make you feel responsible for their emotions and the family's stability. This resistance isn't personal, it's systemic. The family system needs you to play your role to maintain its equilibrium. When you step out of character, the whole system becomes unstable, and unconscious people will do whatever it takes to restore the familiar dysfunction. This is why breaking free from family programming often means accepting that your relationships with family members will change, sometimes dramatically. But here's what I want you to understand. You are not responsible for maintaining a dysfunctional system. You are not obligated to sacrifice your authentic self to keep other people comfortable. You are not required to carry shame, trauma, and limiting beliefs that were passed down to you by unconscious people. You have the right to break free, to heal, to become who you were meant to be before the programming took over. The journey of deprogramming is not easy. It requires you to question everything you were taught about love, family, loyalty, and success. It requires you to feel the grief of realizing that the family you thought you had never actually existed. It requires you to face the terror of stepping into your authentic power when you've been trained to believe that authenticity is dangerous. But on the other side of that deprogramming is freedom, real freedom. The freedom to choose your own values, to create your own definition of success, to love and be loved without conditions, to express your authentic emotions without fear, to pursue your dreams without guilt, to set boundaries without shame. The freedom to break the generational cycle and create a new legacy for yourself and your children. In my next video, we're going deeper into one of the most insidious aspects of family programming, trauma bonding. I'm going to show you why you're addicted to people who hurt you, why you keep recreating familiar dysfunction in your relationships, and how to break free from the cycle of repetition compulsion that keeps you trapped in patterns that were programmed into you before you could even walk. But for now, I want you to start observing. Start noticing when you're operating from your assigned family role. Start questioning the unspoken rules you're still following. Start recognizing the ways you're unconsciously maintaining patterns that no longer serve you. The first step to freedom is seeing the prison you've been living in. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. And that's when the real transformation begins.